Welcome to continuing second round coverage of the FP40 division at the 2022 PDGA Masters Disc Golf World Championships. We're at McNaughton Park with footage brought to you by Ace Run Pro, and thanks to Gatekeeper Media for the graphics. An exciting front nine on a beautiful day now turns over to the back nine with our lead card. It's Grant Zellner and Jennifer Allen.
Yeah, the back nine of this course has a little bit more of a variety of shots. It's going to be tight the first few holes and then open up to a couple of long ending shots to finish out the second round.
You got a good look at our leaderboard there as the top four head to hole number 10, an uphill 363-foot par 4.
Yeah, uphill and then drastically downhill and sloping green back towards the right. This is a difficult shot. It is a par 4 because it is a placement shot. Anywhere just in front of that dirt area is a good spot to land, and still a difficult shot to even approach the green.
Yeah, not a lot of space around that basket either.
So throwing an understable disc, trying to hit that nice straight shot and let the disc finish just like that. That was a perfectly thrown drive by Holly.
Here's your leader, Owen Scoggins.
And I'm kind of surprised she doesn't go forehand, but probably because of this sloping hill, it would have skipped down. So she goes with a backhand as well. JK takes it in a little bit tighter, but she hyzers out and gets a little bit more distance into that dirt area.
And finally, Sarah Hokom going to the forehand.
So Sarah throws a lot more understable plastic than Owen. Owen usually forehands her destroyer, so Sarah is safe to do that shot. And now she's going to have to turn something over as well, and watching the height for a great upshot.
Very well played there. Owen Scoggins next to throw.
Gets a little bit of a roll. This is a tricky green. You feel like you have to throw it pretty far, but then it's really easy to get past that basket or skip into the trees behind. Couple of birdies that look like can be tapped in there.
Go, 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 go.
And Juliana slides that polecat up there.
I'd say it listened.
Sarah does a great job using her legs, getting a good push off to make that nice long birdie putt.
Owen Scoggins in from about 20 to 25 feet there.
She does a great job putting uphill for being so tiny. And Juliana gets that one to stay in the right pocket. Once it's in, it won't come out.
And Holly Finley with a virtual tap-in here at the 10th.
Star frame birdie. They made that look too easy.
Good thing as well, that was the hole playing the easiest for the field on the day, so all four leaders needing those birdies to stay clear. Everybody starts the back nine with a stellar scorecard. Looking now down at hole number 11, a par 3 at 297 feet.
Very difficult tee shot. You have to keep it nice and straight. There's a little bit of room to work with if you turn this disc over, but there's a small tree right there in the middle that loves to get in the way, as well as some roots that you can get a bad kick. The finishing hole goes downhill and to the right. So hyzering off on this one sometimes gives an easier putt for birdie.
Holly will play first.
And she's throwing an understable disc on hyzer to try to ride it down as straight as it can. It gets hung up on that right side, turns Turns and finishes a little quick for her. Owen really working that destroyer and gets a good kick back to the middle.
There's Juliana.
And there's not only that tree, but there's a bunch of little stumps and roots there, and you have no clue which way it's going to kick you.
He's just like really obsessed with the teeth, and I don't want to smash him.
Little critter.
Sarah's getting all the animal love today.
Opalones, little things that look like a spider, but they're an insect.
Oh, daddy longleg. I think is what she's talking about. There's daddy longlegs everywhere on this course. Yeah, she's got to watch the height if it comes back. Oh, if she could have just snuck around there, that probably would have been inside circle 1.
Yeah, it would have been shaped perfectly for this particular basket location. Everybody now coming back down the hill. They just climbed on the previous hole. Owen playing first.
And even, I mean, off the tee is very difficult, but even for the second shot, depending on where you get kicked,
Give me a full leash, right? Yeah.
it's a hard approach sometimes even to this basket. Lots of these low branches in the middle that are just oddly placed.
So I'll share this now. The players, during a little bit of a backup before teeing off here, were looking for 4-leaf clovers and found several of them. And I think you'll hear them reference finding those 4-leaf clovers here and there throughout the rest of the round.
Yeah, and Holly gets an unfortunate kick. But like I said, there's so many branches. Just if it was cleaned up just a little bit, I think this would be a funner hole to play. It's a very difficult line to hit off the tee and past the basket. This course has long pin placements on all of them. You can see the orange pole back off into the trees. It'll be 2 in 1 round. That is hard to shake.
Sarah into the bottom of the basket.
I need that clover back on. I'm going to get that clover back.
Oh, so Holly must have found it, gave it to Owen, and she should have definitely held on to it.
So now Holly looking for another 4-leaf clover.
Good to see her smiling. That's hard to do.
Owen opening up a 3-stroke lead on Holly.
Ledgestone. Every summer, hundreds of disc golfers flock to the greater Peoria, Illinois area to compete in the sport's richest and most charitable event, the Ledgestone Open. But what does Ledgestone look like for the rest of the year? On the surface, Ledgestone is one of disc golf's leading retailers, but look a little closer and you'll find a group of motivated individuals providing the best possible service to the disc golf community. So whether you're building a bag, wanting to support your favorite pro, or looking to add to your disc golf wardrobe, choose the retailer that's as passionate about the sport as you are. Choose Ledgestone.
Hole number 12 is a par 3 at 252 feet.
Yeah, you just want to get off the tee clean through this middle gap. A high floating kind of straight putter shot or a mid-range is going to work nicely. You want to just literally stay straight the whole 252 feet to the basket.
And Owen retakes the honors here on the 12th. Catches something there off to the right, which actually keeps her much closer to the basket location. Now Juliana Korver steps up. Oh, what a beautiful reaction off of those branches.
That is perfect. Don't bump your head.
Definitely need to run this one back. Watching it with intent there, just out of the hand, but then sees the disc finish perfectly at the base of the basket.
Yeah, that's exactly how you draw up this hole.
You really do need to sort of push the right side of the fairway with most shots. Not Sarah. Sarah coming up the other side, looking for a little bit of a back door there.
Yeah, there's some holes in there. It's not horrible left or right, but I mean, really, you just want something that's going to hold a straight line. Holly keeps working this flippy mid on a hyzer release, and it just keeps turning. I really, I'll have to ask her that. I have to guess that that's a Mirage, which are very fun to throw. Highly recommend that for any woman, as well as there's men that love to throw them as well.
So Holly forced to go to a knee here. Judges that pretty well, just gets a little bit of ground play that pushes her a few extra feet away from the basket.
Big jump. That was such a good bid.
Arizona, as mentioned before, was hyzering off into the bushes over there on that side and caught maybe that log itself and tumbled over. I'll try to say it, tumbled over to the back side of it and ended up with a very short birdie putt. Meanwhile, we've got Holly saving her par. I think I got hung up between tumbled and trundled a moment ago.
Something like that. Sarah taps in par, and Juliana is going to tap in her birdie.
What an impressive...
You always love when your drive is still closest after everyone else has putted out. it's the best feeling.
Yeah, it's my favorite.
Owen's opening up a little bit more of a gap, but for second is very tight race.
Onto a long par 3 here at the 13th, measuring 418 feet. A little downhill, but fairly flat, really.
Actually, no. I would actually say this is a pretty downhill shot. Yeah, the slope of this...
sort of ends downhill for sure.
The slope of this green is definitely, and the fairway, all finishes pretty drastically to the left. I think a lot of the green grass makes it maybe not as pure as much, but every one of the shots, if you get it up in the air, it really pulls back to the left side. You want to get around that big tree. Most of the drives are going to land pretty short of that, and just trying to lay up underneath for their tap-in par. I think a lot of the women probably play this as a par 4 maybe in their head.
I think you're right. And you can see, I am a little bit mistaken for sure. When you look back at the tee from the basket, you really do see the lay of the land a little differently, which is a good thing to do. Look back from the basket. You might see some things about a hole that you hadn't seen before.
Sarah turns that over much more than she wanted to. Just kind of digs into the thick grass there. She'll still be able to save the par. Just needs one more really clean shot. Holly trying to work a big flex shot to get that distance.
Gets over that little crest there a little bit.
Yeah, if that would have been just a tad bit higher, she probably would have worked down a little bit further. The angle was good. Now Sarah's going to have to put this one close for the par, and she releases a little high. This tree has some holes through it, though. Now, if she gets most of the way through, that's inside circle 1. Good, strong bid. It is a little quick, but you're not going to go too far once you get to that edge. It's pretty thick. And Juliana tries to catch a little bit more grass than Holly did, keeping her close to the basket. Owen just casually flicks up her Firebird.
Sarah saving that par from about 28 feet. Nice putt.
Good par save from Holly as well. I'm not a gambler, but I think that Owen is the one person that I would bet on putting, especially after two other people have just made their putt. You kind of know that that one's going in, and JK gets that one to fall back into the
Dances
basket
into the bottom.
to complete their star frame par.
Star par for our lead card here. So no positioning changes hands, and we move on now to the 14th. Another long par 3 at 369 feet.
Yeah, this is a tricky hole with the basket placed over on the right-hand side around this thick shrub, bush, and tree kind of combined. You have to get a nice straight shot that's going to flex and come back to the right side. So backhand's going to throw somewhat of maybe a high fading turnover shot. This probably plays a little bit easier for your forehand or lefties that can crank over their shot and get it to hyzer back over to the right. Nothing wrong with trying to just throw a straight shot. Owen wanted a little more height and a little more hyzer on, so she didn't have to try to throw up a upshot around that thick shrub. Juliana clears that on the left side. This is a pretty tight fairway. It opens up right past this stuff. You just have to clear both of those on the left and the right.
Sarah will be a little obstructed there on her upshot, but has the shot shape to handle the situation. Here's Holly.
Ooh, comes out quick and early. Is it going to sneak all the way around?
Clover own. Yeah, there you go.
Thanks for that, Clover.
There you go.
Good strong approach. Just going to be just inside the rough there. Holly gives it a good high bid so it doesn't go too far.
Here's Owen. From about 85 feet. Would have liked to be a little closer than that, but that's in Owen range.
And I love, that grass is so thick. You know, a lot of these greens have a lot of vast dirt around them, and this one is thick. Juliana meant to get that to float all the way under the basket, and all the previous holes, she was having to, trying to get it to land exactly where she did, and it would slide that last 15 feet. Sarah saves par.
Great job there from a little below the basket.
Good putt.
Softly in for Juliana. And here is Holly with basically a tap in.
So all pars. I know that there was at least 2 birdies on this hole for the day. One was a throw-in from Elaine King.
And one was...
Me!
There you go.
I had a great drive. Was able to get the easy 2.
And you're right, those were the only 2 birdies on the day there at the 14th. Can't linger, though, and bask in the sunshine too long. We got to move on to the 15th. This a par 3 at 330 feet.
Very difficult tee shot it feels really open off the tee, but it quickly gets around you, both sides, left and right, with a very, very low ceiling till it opens back up to the sunshine.
Yeah, uphill with a low ceiling. Difficult combination.
Yeah, I've heard a lot of the women say that they just tried to throw only to get to the middle and stay low. Owen has that in her head and unfortunately goes a little too low. She was trying to get up there to that dirt spot underneath the tree.
Oh, Juliana, an early release.
Yeah, I think she's going to work back okay. She has such a great kind of low rising shot that she can kind of air bounce up, and that was what she was trying to do. Sarah gets hung up about the same spot. Holly throwing her understable disc on a hyzer again, and she unfortunately gets hung up as well. The low branches here are so hard to get through because it's a long hole. You need a big drive to get there. Yeah, even the approaches are very difficult.
Yeah, Owen leaves herself still about 90 feet short. Holly out and across, catching another tree trunk. Also will be about 90 feet short. Juliana really having to use her height here.
Yeah, and that just needed a little more air underneath it to be perfect. That was a long forehand, so very difficult shot. Sarah has a little bit easier of an angle. And that doesn't come out quite as well as she would anticipate, I don't think either, but she is out there, circle one.
This is Owen from about 90 feet.
Strong bid.
And now Holly from a similar distance.
That was a good out / bid as well. She had a lot to go through.
Juliana in for par from about 15 to 20 feet there.
Yeah, that was a good save. Sarah able to do the same. And that's about as well as you can play it. I think it is doable for the women, but it takes an absolute perfect drive and a good putt.
Mm-hmm. So Owen takes the bogey and falls back a stroke. Meanwhile, her three closest pursuers knotted up at 5 under par. It's the 16th, another long par 3 at 381 feet.
Again, tunnel shot off the tee. That is an OB road to the left, and that is thick foliage to the right, so you have to keep another very low, straight flying shot back uphill to get to this green. It is a very difficult shot to get through. Something understable again, like the rest of the course, trying to get released. That will finish back up. A little bit of traffic going by. Doesn't bother Juliana. And that's exactly what she did. Something understable that was able to hyzer back up and glide straight. I've seen some forehands and some lefties take the road. Sarah takes something very flippy, throws it out there, and gets it to hyzer back.
Center cut. Owen a little low out of the hand.
Yeah, nothing wrong with that though. She'll have a clean approach to get up there to save par.
And here's Holly.
Again, probably not very many twos on this hole, if any. Why most women treat this as a par 4 mentally. Owen gives a good approach that kind of rolls off just a little bit. She won't be too far up there. Holly, nice big jump putt that keeps her nice and close.
Surprisingly enough, this hole played as the hardest on the day in terms of its relation to par. Played almost a full stroke over par, about 0.8 of a stroke to be exact.
Definitely if there was a 2, it would probably feel like an eagle. So one that could probably be switched to a par 4, but all the scores end up the same. You tally them up at the end of the day.
Juliana in for par. Sarah and Owen also in for par, and now Holly.
Star frame on the 16th is a good hole. They played it very well.
Yeah, by all taking a par there, the lead card extends their lead, relatively speaking, on the rest of the field.
Play
Disc.
golf.
Pelaan frisbeegolfia.
Spill disc golf. Yeah.
To help recognize players of all ages and backgrounds, we are excited to announce the PDGA Global Master Series.
Beginning January 2023, anyone competing in a Masters division at a PDGA sanctioned tournament will qualify.
You'll be ranked with other players in your division from around the world. And the player with the 8 highest rated rounds will become a PDGA Global Master Series champion.
Visit pdga.com/GMS.
Some exciting stuff from the PDGA, as well as Ace Run Pro. Like, follow, subscribe. Only $3 a month in their Patreon account.
Keep these guys out on the road bringing you content like this. And we move to the 17th, our last one of our 2 twin par 4s ending the round here at McNaughton. Uphill, 429 feet.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff over to this left side in the shadows, so most of the women are trying to keep it out here on the right side. If you get it too far right, it's a very difficult to see the basket. So finishing sharply to the left, the sloping green makes it very fast. If I remember correctly, the wind started to pick up. It was a tailwind to finish this hole. Don't see the trees moving too much at the moment. Sarah gets a good flex shot out there to get up a lot of distance. So Owens wants to keep that out and not skip too far to the left side, and she does so with that thick grass. I love to see Holly. She really works their hyzer flip-ups to try to get a little bit more distance. From over here on the left side, you can easily see the basket. It just brings in the trees a little bit more.
Owen's got about 200 feet up the hill.
Yeah, and that's the low-lying branches I was talking about, and unfortunately Holly gets hung up in a couple of them. Looks to be circle 2. Sarah probably tall enough to see the very top of that basket and knows that it's a very quick green, so she plays it a little short, gets hung up in the grass, doesn't get the skip and roll she anticipated, but she is inside circle 1.
Juliana looking at about 140 feet now.
And with her height, she might be able to see the top of that as well. But there's the fast green I was talking about. Very easy to do. You think it's perfect, and you get down there and you're 30 feet long.
Holly first from 39.
Beautiful birdie.
Definitely need another look at this one.
Good, strong putt. Very confident after getting a couple of unfortunate spits today. Pretty big uphill, leaves it just a hair short, and Sarah's going to have the opposite and have to really worry about the quick down slope. And that catches chains high and left.
The wind really came up here in these few moments.
Yeah, it really did. And it was kind of swirly, and you could feel it at some points, and you couldn't at the other.
That's Owen in for birdie from 12 feet away. So 2 birdies and 2 pars for our lead card here at the 17th. Interestingly enough, the 17th one of a couple of holes on the course where the field did not card a single bogey or worse. And we're there, the 18th, a long par 4 at 849 feet.
Yeah, that little tree in the middle is something you want to decide to go left or right around. All of that off to the right is very thick, and the OB drive is off to your left. So nice, wide, open fairway, but not always that easy to keep it in the middle, especially with a very strong headwind that you really couldn't feel on the tee. But once you threw out, it sure did seem to grab some of them and was pulling it off to the right if you had any angle on the disc at all. You can see that in Owen's. Owen just throws a really stable disc that she doesn't have a ton of arm speed, so it hyzers back to the middle for her.
Holly hoping to miss that tree.
And perfect distance to catch that right in the middle. There was nothing wrong with her drive. That was exactly what she wanted. It's just the distance of her drive was exact same as that tree. Juliana able to hold the wind height and get a wind bounce to get around it. Sarah gonna work this, hope not to catch too much. And lands perfectly over on the left side of the fairway.
So Sarah now looking to put this within approach shot distance of the basket.
Yeah, that's going to hyzer out way too quick for her. Luckily, it stays out in the open. There's a big slope, and that headwind, if you have the wrong angle, you think a headwind might hyzer you off, but with the wrong angle of the disc, it's going to suck them down the hill, especially with the sloping green. Owen gets it a little too low, trying to play it safe, and the headwind's going to suck it to the ground.
Juliana, after a big drive.
And she has a big second shot as well. If this holds on a little bit further, she's going to be close to circle one.
So now Sarah from 290.
That is much better angle. Still want it to come down. Probably about 20.
Just outside the circle, actually.
Oh.
It's a little bit
Deceiving.
sloping there.
Mm-hmm.
Holly had just about 225 to the basket. Hyzer's off a little early. Now Owen also from about 225 feet away.
Yeah, that took a pretty big skip for how much grass is up here. She usually approaches with that Firebird. I love that soft little kind of ultimate toss. You can tell she's played a lot of catch over the years.
So Sarah now to putt first from just outside of 40 feet.
Good bid. Gave it everything she could. Hopefully it stayed right there. You can easily get some rolls on this hole.
Holly from circle's edge.
And she deserved that. After a couple unfortunate spits today, that's a great way to finish the round. Owen also slams in her par putt.
And JK in for par. Sarah will tap in a bogey on the hole that played as the second most difficult hole on the course today, averaging 3/4 of a stroke over par.
That kind of surprises me. I think the headwind really played into that. I know we had some difficulty on our card for a couple of reasons.
So Owen Scoggins opens up a 4-stroke lead on Holly Finley. We'll get a look at the overall leaderboard here. Juliana Korver and Sarah Hokom both maintaining their positions relative to the field and will be on the lead card for round number 3.
Only 4 players to stay and manage under par. We are going to be looking up next to round number 3.
So make sure you like, subscribe, and follow the PDGA on all of our social channels and right here on YouTube for continuing coverage of the 2022 PDGA Masters Disc Golf Championships.